Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Going Off Track podcast. I'm Kathryn, that's Emily, and we finally get to talk about our thoughts, full of spoilers, of the F1 movie.
Yeah. Gave you guys a month to see it. If you haven't seen it yet, you're living under a rock.
I mean,
So
honestly, it has been about a month since the movie came out. Gosh, time when I'm running a summer camp is so weird.
yeah, I think it's like 3 weeks ish because it came
Give
out
or
like the
take.
25th, 27th, depending on your living location. But yeah.
Yeah. I saw it the night that it came out, or the night before it came out in the States because I had some advanced showings. And then I saw it again about a week and a half ago, and I made notes. I made so many notes. Are these notes completely legible? No. Do I kind of know the gist of what I was talking about? Probably, but most of the notes that I did take the second time I saw it were the exact same thoughts I had the first time I saw the movie.
Yeah, I only saw it once and I saw it in Argentina and it was great. Love Argentine movies. No one got half of the humor, which is, great.
Of
But
course.
that happens. But no, we saw it, it happened, and now we're gonna talk about it. So
Yeah.
I think we talk about the good before we talk about the bad.
Yeah.
Fair.
I
Okay.
think the first thing that I want to point out is like, why did no one tell me that this was a comedy?
Well, I think it's like every big action movie though.
Right.
Like there's action and then there's like some reprieve with comedy. Like there's some funny bits and pieces thrown in there. With like Top Gun Maverick's a really good example because it's the same director.
Right.
Like super serious action, but then there's some funny bits too. So I mean that's to be expected. I think if you just have so much serious, so much action, it gets to be like a lot.
That's true, but I also just didn't expect to laugh nearly as much as I did because I laughed on the level of yes, there's the funny parts, and then I also laughed on the second level of these are funny Formula One references that as an F1 fan I recognize and am amused by. That my friends, especially the ones I saw it with the second time, that they like. Why is Kathryn laughing at Stefano Domenicali's cameo? Because Stefano Domenicali's cameo was hilarious.
Yeah, it was also random. I don't know. I feel like they tried to throw everybody in on the cameos and it was just like a lot.
Oh, that
Um,
that one was majorly shoehorned in, but I thought it was
yeah.
great. Like in an entertaining sense, it was great. Necessary? No. Funny? Yes.
I wish they would have done like a cooler cameo bit with like a pit walk. You know what I mean? Like have Martin Brundle like start talking. Like I know there was a little bit, but I wish there was just like more of that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
They
that's
did
such
a
a big part of
lot.
the weekend.
They did manage to do a lot of the grid. I know that like the restrictions of it are, and this really played into a lot of the movie, is like you could only show parts like the beginning portions of the race when they qualified in the back, because that's where they could put the cars to make it look real, instead of like having someone qualifying 12th and 15th and having them in the middle of the mix. Like you couldn't set up the actual real scene that way with the real drivers and the cars and all the people on the grid.
Right. No, I think it definitely benefited them that they had the full backing of F1 because there's no
Right.
way they could have done a movie to this caliber without it. But you could definitely see like where they put their foot down on like that's not happening.
Yeah, there were just some things that logistically weren't possible, but it would have been fun to see things like that. But before we like move more into like the nitty gritty, I want to talk about like the soundtrack and the score, because I was really curious of how like a soundtrack like this was going to work, because like going into it, just seeing all of the different artists that were going to be on it, all of these different genres. It's like, how is that going to work? But they really did manage to put it together like really well.
Yeah, so Ryan Tenner did it. He's like one of the members of One Republic, but he does a lot of soundtrack work. So he also like him and Lady Gaga did Top Gun Maverick, worked with the same
Hmm.
director. He's done like some of your favorite soundtracks he has, pulled together and organized. He works with a ton of like pop artists, works with a lot of people just in general
Right.
as a producer, as a writer, so he has a lot to pull from and pick from, which is why I think his soundtracks do so well. But he's one of when I hear that a soundtrack is being done by Ryan, I get really excited. I think I sent it to you. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Ryan's doing it. It's going to be
Yeah.
incredible."
Yeah, you
Um,
did.
but Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it really added because I hate when a soundtrack is good, but it takes away from the film. I feel like this one was really good and it added to the film. The one song though that like is just funny is the Ed Sheeran one, and like
Oh my gosh.
I know he worked with like I think he worked with oh what's his name, John Mayer. He worked with like
It
John
was John
Mayer
Mayer, yeah.
and like all these things, and like it is a cool song, but like the music video was hilarious. It's just him like around like crashed cars and driving through the desert.
Yeah.
Um that one's the weird one to me, but like the Tate McRae one I love, and I think it works so well in the scene, and I don't know. The whole thing is
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah, it
yeah.
was good. When I saw it with the second time, one of my friends who is a musician, he's like, that just really didn't sound like it. It was a song for Ed Sheeran that he just rolled up and they're like, just sing the song, just go with it.
Well,
Just
and
go with it.
he like talks about it. He's like, I wanted to do like a traditional rock song because like that
Hmm.
is the vibe of the movie.
Right.
And I'm like, love that, but like that's not your
Yeah.
niche. So maybe if I just like listen to it without thinking like Ed Sheeran is singing this, then it would be a good song. But to me, it's just like they don't go. But it's still good. I mean, it was fine, obviously, but
Yeah.
I have to say the soundtrack was the thing that I liked the most about this movie and the
Yeah. I
sound in
mean,
general.
yeah, I mean, I know I definitely enjoyed it more than you did. We talked about that before we started recording. But it was fully what I expected, but also there were bits that I didn't expect that were very entertaining. One of them being that like Kevin Magnussen of all people was used as like the guy that Brad Pitt's character was fighting with the most, and I just thought that that was both hilarious and so appropriate, especially, going through last season and Kevin Magnussen getting a race ban and just all of that happening. It just made it so much funnier. Like, of course, Kevin Magnussen is going to be the driver that they're going to be knocking into and battling with.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good person to pick. I mean, he's in that position a lot anyway, so.
Yeah. And then all of like the plan C for combat, chaos, ridiculousness, which would never actually fly in a real life F1 season, but I was very entertained by it.
Yeah. It was a really good action movie. The sound mixing that they did, the shots that they got were really, really good, and the racing bit was like entertaining. I have a lot of issues with like everything else, so
Yeah.
I'll
We'll
talk
we'll
about
get
that
there.
later. But yeah,
Yeah.
it like I said earlier, I don't think they could have done a movie to this at this magnitude like without all of the F1 drivers and everyone, playing nice. So it was really cool to see all of the drivers involved, the team principals. We got to see Gunther, who, has not been on the grid for a while. We miss him. It was really trippy to see all the drivers for like the old teams. You see Carlos and
Right.
Ferrari, and like Lewis is very heavily
All of the Lewis Hamilton glamour
spotlighted,
shots.
and it's all in Mercedes, and love Toto, love seeing Toto in there, and James, and yeah, it was good, it was good.
Yeah. So let's just move on to the bits that we have notes on, because I think that that's really where most of the movie not exactly comes apart, but I think that as people who know enough about Formula 1, that's really where it's like it takes you out a little bit, where most of my friends who saw it who aren't into the sport were like, I didn't notice that being a problem. And I think the first one is a driver quitting mid-season really just stuck out to me as like that's not a thing.
Yeah, and they like didn't give a good reason why. Like it just
Like, the
didn't make
car is bad. Like, that's literally the reason, was the car was bad. Like, a driver's not going to quit because he's in Formula 1, even if the car is terrible. Look at Valtteri Bottas living at stake for as long as he did. Like, you look at Alpine. Alpine is a trash fire, and you still have drivers that are clamoring for one of their seats because it's the Alpine Formula 1 team.
And you just have a seat. Yeah, I mean, maybe he got another opportunity like in IndyCar or something, but like we didn't get the full story. I don't
Yeah.
know. There was a hole there for me. I agree.
That was a big hole. And the other hole was like, when does this movie like start? Like, did this movie start in the summer break, or is it just like they didn't care about the timeline? There are like 9 races left, which would read summer
Summer
break,
break.
but also like how can you get all those upgrades together to turn your team around that quickly?
I don't know.
The answer that I came up with is that this takes place in a world that, yes, the team has financial issues, but this takes place in a world where there's no budget cap, so you could put a gazillion dollars into your car
Right.
development very quickly, like Mercedes used to in the pre-budget cap era when they were just stomping on everyone. Like this is just an alternate universe of the 2023 season where there is no such thing as a cost cap.
No, I agree. And like it's not unrealistic because this used to be in existence. It's not
Right.
so they can make it more competitive, but also like maybe they just have a lot of money sitting around because they haven't been doing anything with the car. Who knows? But
Yeah.
the timing was I was trying to figure that out too. Summer break made sense just based on how many races were left and like the concept of time in movies though is really
Is
hard.
so not
Of like
real.
how much time between now and then, and like we had what, a 2-ish hour movie for like 9 race weekends, and it's like you couldn't keep track of like days, which you're never going to. But
Right.
anyways,
Yeah, they breeze by a lot of it, but it's like I think it would have been like it would have been helpful to like know, like, if you have the sense of the F1 calendar, like where like the
yeah,
summer break is coming, like we only have so much time before the summer break ends and we need a driver now.
yeah. I think they got the trying to think what races they highlighted, but I don't think all of them are after the summer break, but I think they just did what they could with the race weekends that they filmed
They
at.
no, they definitely did. Like they had Silverstone after the
That's
summer
right.
break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Spa, which in our real world is next week. So they kind of just like they picked and chose races. Like they had Japan, which had been around that time and then, is now moved to the spring. So they moved Japan back to its old spot on the calendar. They completely erased Qatar. There was no Qatar Grand Prix. I think they put Spa in the space of Qatar. So they really did play with it based on what races they were able to record live at, like Mexico.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I didn't think it was bad. I prefer them to like record at a race that's not in their time frame than to like manufacture a race weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And like they didn't what I was a little worried about is that they were going to use too much of Silverstone as a track stand-in and be like, you know, we're at Abu Dhabi, but we're using, digitized footage that was
Silverstone,
filmed at Silverstone. So I'm glad it didn't feel like they did that. And if they did, it wasn't noticeable enough. But one thing that was really noticeable was the fight between JP and Sonny at Silverstone after they crashed and took each other out, which has serious shades of like 2016 Hamilton Rosberg in Spain. Like, you wouldn't do that in the middle of the garage in full view of the public. And my first thought the first time I saw the movie was, where is Ted Kravitz? Because Ted Kravitz would have been all over that for Sky coverage. And like, oh, it looks like the drivers are fighting in the garage.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think it's a stretch to say like you would never do that. I think people would stop it if it started, but like
Yeah.
if you look at a professional sports team, right? Like you see teammates fighting on the sidelines all the time just because
Right.
it's so intense, you're so focused, it's very, high stakes, high level. So like could I see that happening? Yeah, we just don't because like there's so many HR and public relation like
Right.
PR people around. My favorite part from that though was when he's like, "Why are you smiling?" and whatever, he walks away, and the guy's like, "Great race!" and he just
I'm
sits there with like arms
literally
on his shoulder or on his hips. It's so
I'm like,
funny.
are you kidding me? Like, you're pretending that this is a great race when you just crashed. Like, no F1 driver would ever say that, even in this, fake F1 driver who isn't into the sport for the, like, I feel like JP's character was not into the sport for the right reasons. It's like, I want to be famous instead of I want to be the best damn driver in the world.
Be famous, so like I think that was his manager. I think that was the issue. But it's like, you don't become a driver to be famous. Like, you become a driver to be a driver.
Right.
But
and then you get famous because of it.
Focused on like the periphery of the sport, not necessarily the driving. But then he honed it in and he came back. So
Yeah, and to be fair, they do have to do all of the, marketing and sponsorships and promos, and they have to go to events that they may or may not want to. So that part was predominantly accurate in those media responsibilities that they have to do. But like, you're not in Formula One to be famous. You're in Formula One to drive really, really fast cars and be the best driver in the world.
yeah, agreed. So here's another thing that I really take issue with, the whole Sonny Kate situation.
Yeah.
So I would just like to point out that almost every single sports movie has a romantic, like, vein of the movie, which I understand. But I would just, like, love for sports movies to stop doing this.
Yeah, it's like, did that like they made such a big deal of her being the first female technical director in the sport, which
Yeah.
we do not in the real world have ever had a female technical director. I think that one of the highest on the technical side roles that has been occupied by a woman is probably, Hannah Schmitz at Red Bull, who is one of their like senior lead engineers. But why did they have to do that? And if they then obviously it's because Brad Pitt, and we need, Brad Pitt, needs to get some in his movies. But if they had to do it, why couldn't they do it until, like, why couldn't they wait until after Abu Dhabi, when he's no longer, like, when he's basically quit and he's not driving for the team anymore?
I
Like,
don't think it's
that
a
would have
Brad
been
Pitt thing. I really think this is a summer blockbuster movie.
Well, yeah.
And husbands want to go, so we have to throw a little bit of romance in.
Right. And I'm not saying that, like,
girlfriends.
I'm not saying this is like a demand for Brad Pitt. This is obviously a movie studio. Like, they give you a list of things that have to happen in the movie, and you have to have the lead actors, make out. But like, why? Like, they could have very easily had that happen after the Abu Dhabi race, when he's no longer working for the team, and it would have been like, ugh, why did he have to get with her? But it wouldn't be a, like, literally, like, her, like, she's an employee. Like, you can't do that.
I thought like the funny, flirty banter before they hooked up was more like entertaining and funny than like them actually hooking up. It didn't add anything to the movie, so
No,
I
it
don't
didn't.
think it had to happen like at all. I think it would have been great if she just turned him down completely and like there was no relationship or anything.
Yeah, it would have continued to be funny. And it's just like, it really, I'm also glad that they like didn't overly go into like whatever happened after the bar, before they cut to the hotel room. Like, they cut it off in a way that like you could live with the scene if you had to, but it didn't need to happen in general. Like, the whole thing, the way it was portrayed, it's like, why? And I know why, but also, like, it's 2025. Why? Period.
Yeah, it just, like, if it truly added to the movie, like, their character development of them, like, getting together truly added to the movie, I think it, like, fine, whatever. It can happen after Abu Dhabi, whatever. But I don't think there was any, like, need for it. I think they were just trying to force it, along with, like, a lot of the things they were forcing in the movie. But
right, like Brad Pitt's terrible wig in the 1993 scenes.
Yeah, but it's 1993. Who cares?
Yeah, I just like that the wig just kind of it comes out on the screen and just kind of smacks you in the face. So now moving on to, okay, now we're just getting nitpicky. What really stuck out to me was like, there would not be fireworks in the middle of the 24 hours of Daytona race with cars on track. Like, that's straight up safety.
It's Florida.
It is Florida. And then I don't know what they originally intended for Simone Ashley's role. I feel like the role was probably just girlfriend, like generic girlfriend. And having seen the movie, and especially having seen all the scenes with Joshua Pierce's people, his mom, his manager, all of that, I wasn't missing her presence in the movie.
No, but so here's my thing with this. I think it was probably girlfriend or like person he's trying to pursue. I personally think it would have made more sense for him to have the romantic, like, tangling and her be a distraction, her be an off the track situation. Like, that makes sense with his character storyline.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, like, Sonny and Kate does too, but, like, I would have preferred like that character to have the situation than like Brad Pitt's character.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there, but I really like there was so much. It felt like there was a lot of uproar of Simone Ashley's role getting cut, and like I really don't think it was missed, and I think that it probably would have like along with the Sunny Kate bits, I think that it would have looked worse for
Yeah,
her to
oh,
have
together.
been
They
in
had to
it.
go one way or the other. Agreed. I think
Yeah,
there was like uproar because of who it was, but and they're like, how can someone so big get such a, a
big
role
actors get cut
cut?
from movies all the time.
Exactly. And she's not even that big of an actor. She's done like 2 things. She was in
She
Bridgerton, and that's why
she was in
everyone knows
Bridgerton.
her.
Yeah, and I don't love her season of Bridgerton, I'm gonna be honest. Not my favorite.
Well, they also
So
haven't put a season out of Bridgerton in like 100 years, so I can't even remember what is happening. But
yeah, we have to wait for another year to get to season 4, but I haven't even finished season 3, so we'll see.
okay, but it was also, I like how, again, when you have a sports movie and you don't have the backing of like the league or the teams, you get situations where it's like, oh, it's the Charlotte Tigers and it's the, Texas Lone Rangers or whatever. These dumb names and these dumb make believe things and situations. The
Right.
thing that really helped this movie was having the tie with F1 and being able to actually like reference races and have the teams and the people and the drivers. So it didn't feel fake. It felt very real, which I liked. And like with that, they were able to like have all of these references to different F1 events and F1 things. And even not necessarily like calling it out, but like ties to what happened.
Right. Yeah, I think the one that the first one that has stood out to me since like the first full trailer came out was obviously the crash at Monza was a callback to Romain Grosjean's crash at the 2020 Bahrain GP where his car exploded and he burned his hands, and they literally just almost put that word for word into the script, except Brad Pitt dragged him out of the car instead of him getting out of the car himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's like so the thing that I loved was the DRS train. It's so good. It's so good. And that's kind of like a callback to Fernando in 2022. So I like how they took real things and like either referenced them directly or snuck it in as like storyline.
Yeah, and it's like it's real strategy. Like for Fernando, that was that was in Monaco in 2022. Like the actual strategy was back up half of the grid so that they're basically like
We have a
half a lap
pit.
behind the front runners, and do that, go through the pitting. And then obviously we had the iconic call of "Through Goes Hamilton" from Crofty, which was in 2021 in Abu Dhabi. But also like Lewis Hamilton had so much influence on this movie, but still doesn't replicates the movie, including his trauma from what happened with his fight with Max. Like there was no like let's do this but better for me type of deal, which I thought was really entertaining and also kind of funny.
Yeah. Something else I thought was really funny, and I immediately was like, "Oh my gosh, we're watching Carlos Sainz." Sonny's just calling strategy for not only his car but the other car,
Right?
while he's driving. I'm like, "This is what Carlos was doing for all of his years in Ferrari."
Yeah, all movie long. And then another thing that people were nitpicking was the female mechanic Jody, who I was surprised she was one of my favorite minor characters of the whole movie.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, why is a female character fumbling the pit stops and struggling, blah, blah, blah. And like, yeah, it wasn't great. But at the same time, it was a major callback to Drive to Survive. The first season really did a good job of covering some very bad pit stop mistakes from Haas. And yes, it was bad because, the female-led mechanic, but it was like they had those same, similar wheel issues.
They like couldn't get them tight enough. So like the tires were too loose. And I actually just rewatched Drive to Survive, which is like why I'm rewatching. Fun. I know. Well, one of my friends wanted to watch it because they had never seen it. And they're like, do you want to watch with me so I can like understand what's going on? I'm like, sure. So I'm just sitting there commentating the entire thing. But yeah, did I not love that it was, Jody? But I think it also like was cool that they had a female in the pit crew.
Yeah,
Because you don't
I
see a
thought it
lot
was
of
great.
women like doing the gun. So
Yeah, and all those like jokes about like I won, 4 world titles with Ferrari as the rear jack
Real-
man. Like
and then they can't get out. He's like, I've got this.
I will do
And
it.
just push
And I didn't write this one in, but the rebuild of the full on rear wing rebuild was something that happened a couple years ago with Danny Ricciardo's car. There was a crash. Oscar Piastri's I think it was Oscar Piastri's tire hit and damaged Danny's rear wing, and they had
Yeah,
to
it
completely
flew off
replace
in
it.
Brazil.
Yes, yeah, and
And during
they
the red
had
flag, they
time,
had to rebuild. Yes.
and they did, and they did it in time. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh my god, they're making the climax of this movie. That's a really cool like challenge thing that you have to do, but also it is a challenge thing that they would have to do. That is something that would happen in real life in Formula One. Like that was a great thing. That was like that is something that you could actually see in the sport.
Right. And so my dad asked me about that. He's like, there's no way. I'm like, no, no, no.
There is
It's
actually
real. This is very real. So that's, and like they did do certain things well, like that, for example. So
yeah. And then there were the funny other part was like the fake podiums that they did, because I remember thinking like
they gave George Russell way too much airtime.
George's podium, George on the podium in Abu Dhabi, Pierre Gasly being on one of the podiums. For like, I forgot that they weren't using all the real podiums, and that they had brought drivers up for a bunch of fake podiums afterwards at a few separate tracks. But yeah, I lost it at just the look on George's face when they were filming that fake podium in Abu Dhabi. I'm just like, I want to know what he was thinking, like what was going through his mind.
Yeah. Well, so I also saw something where like I guess they had filmed several like with Josh was the other driver, right?
Joshua Pierce. Yeah.
Joshua Pierce, yeah. Like where he won. So I don't know if it was to throw off the scent or if they had like different endings to the movie.
That's really, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. What was also really interesting to me is I remember last year when we were in Mexico, they filmed at the podium in the stadium section, they filmed a scene with Brad Pitt passing out, losing consciousness, that wasn't included in the movie. And I think that they might have wanted to have done more with the spinal injuries and the damage that his character sustained in the 1993 crash, that there might have been an original plan to do more with that, like have him pass out in Mexico, maybe have that be the lead in to that conversation in the hospital with Javier Bardem's character, instead of the angry driving crash that they included in Vegas instead.
Yeah. I think they filmed more and then really cut it down, obviously. But
I want to see the deleted scenes.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be a good one to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of like asked around my friends like what they thought about it, because some of them have seen it, some of them have zero desire to see an action sports movie, which fair. My parents loved it because my dad's like kind of into F1. He like watches and keeps up like occasionally, but he thought it was entertaining. My mom thought it was great because she was like, it was filmed really well. Like I felt like I was watching a race with you on race weekend. Like the filming was really well done. All my friends who don't know F1 loved it. They're like, oh, it's a really fun action movie, and like this is really cool. And then like my handful of friends who know F1 were like, there's some issues. And I'm like,
yeah,
I agree. So it's kind of like a mixed bag, I think. But in general, I think it was received really well globally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I had pretty much the same experience. I saw it the first time with one friend who is a pretty big McLaren fan, and the other who is, aware of the existence of Formula One by virtue of the fact that a bunch of her friends are F1 fans. And my friend turned to me in the middle of the movie and she said to me, I thought they were going to say Brad Pitt killed Ayrton Senna. And I just lost it in the middle of the theater. I was also laughing basically the entire time. And for the record, the real 1993 Spanish Grand Prix podium was Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, and Michael Schumacher. And Senna didn't die until the San Marino race in 1994. But that was very interesting. And that was like watching that, I was like, I wonder what happened at that race. And then Adam, guesty bestie, as we well know here on the podcast, he said that it was highly entertaining and good, if not a little bit unrealistic. Also in the text he sent me featuring a crying while laughing emoji. The one friend that I went to with the second time, who he did not like this movie, and he's a very big film buff, who thought that he thought going into it that he would enjoy it in some way. He would have notes, but he would enjoy it. And I didn't tell him beforehand, but I was like, I knew, I was like, I know you're going to hate this movie. And spoiler alert, he hated this movie. And two of the things that really stood out to him that I didn't really, one of the things I'm blind to, and I know that, and the other thing I didn't notice, the one thing that I'm blind to is he had a big problem with all of the sponsorship and product placement that is everywhere in Formula One, which you and I were used to it, and I can see why he wouldn't be.
Yeah, I think they did really well with that, honestly. They got like, because I mean, I don't know how much you looked into this, but like in doing this movie, they went out and like farmed out sponsors. And so like these people actually paid to be put in the movie, which helped with their insane $300 million budget or whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought they did a really good job of not having like fake, again, going back to what I was saying, like when you have all this fake stuff, it puts you in this like reality where it's not real. This made it feel super real because it was real sponsors and real things going on, which, yeah, like if you are familiar with the sport, it's everywhere. So
yeah, and I think
I thought they did a really good job with that.
I agree in the sense that it was real sponsorships. They got the real sponsors, like 4 teams, all of those things. Like you could see Shark Ninja, Expensify. You could feasibly see those on F1 cars and sponsoring F1 teams and drivers. So like I get why he didn't like it, because he's one of those types of people, like if he sees text on screen, he's going to read it. So that just took him out of it a lot. And his other issue was he felt it was too much like Ted Lasso in season 1, which I didn't even think of until he mentioned it. And yeah, I mean, obviously there are clear comparisons. Obviously they have JP's mom was on seasons 2 and 3 of Ted Lasso, but I really feel like, yeah, there were bits that kind of rhymed with the season 1 bits of Ted Lasso, but it didn't really take away anything for me.
No, and I mean, the formula of a movie is the same regardless of the theme, right? So
yeah,
they all at the same, there's always going to be like an issue, a hero, a villain, solving the problem, romantic tanglings, whatever. Like they all follow the same things. You could say this movie is like 1,000 other things if you like pull on the right string. So
exactly. So
that didn't bother me because like everything is so formulaic these days.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's exactly what you expect out of a Vroom Cargo Fast movie. And my other friend who I saw it with, he said, yeah, it scratched the part of my lizard brain that wants to drive fast. And he has some awareness of Formula One. The summer that I got into the sport, he would watch a couple of the races with us. So he had some awareness, though not much. And he asked me a bunch of questions about like the budget cap stuff that we actually talked about that earlier today. But he enjoyed it as, like your non-Formula One fan friends did, of like, that was a fun sports movie and then he would look at me in the movie theater and be like, why are you laughing so hard at this random comment, or the through goes Hamilton, or the we are checking, which is not an obvious Ferrari reference, but like when you hear we are checking as a Formula One fan, you think Ferrari.
Yeah. Okay, so all in all, it was fine. It was exciting to see like F1 recognized. I think Lewis lent a very good hand in the production, I think, and listening to what, the producers and Brad Pitt say like about Lewis's involvement was very positive. I don't think it would have been as good without Lewis.
Yeah, we've heard about how Lewis really had a hand, especially in the racing portions, of like making sure that was authentic as possible, so that the diehards wouldn't be so overly nitpicky about things.
Yeah, no, Brad Pitt was saying in an interview how like they had to change all the sound mixing essentially because they had like gotten it wrong. Like they were on the wrong turn, like using audio from the wrong turn to match up with like what was actually going on. And Lewis like told them all these things, and that helps for like the fans, the diehards, to to not
Yeah.
think it's
I mean, even
all
for
made
like
up.
you and me, there are some like because I think we've watched replays enough during F1 races where like if an engine blows, you can kind of hear it and you can hear the way
Yeah.
it sounds. And like it I think it was important enough for them to make sure that the sound mixing of all things was correct during the racing portions of the movie.
Yeah, like I thought it was really well done. Like I think this movie will be nominated for an Oscar in sound mixing. I really do.
It definitely should be. And then I checked before we started recording, and the movie is set to pass $400 million this weekend. So clearly it is doing well in the box office. And we're kind of in this era of movies where like you don't see a lot of movies doing this well internationally. So that's really great for Apple Studios, especially since Apple is really making this very significant financial push into getting movies that are just not just made for Apple TV, but movies that are made for the theaters. They're seeing the
Yeah.
huge dollar signs. They want a sequel. They want to greenlight a sequel yesterday. And then there's Lewis who's saying like, let's slow down here. Let's
I
not
don't know
rush
if the
this.
sequel makes sense though. Like
I mean, I don't think so either. Like, I think that the storyline is really very well. Like, we had a start, we had an end. I don't think that there is a way to bring Brad Pitt's character back into F1 that makes sense. And I also don't think we need a movie of another 11th team. Like,
no, and I
I
don't think
really
JP's character was like exciting enough to carry a full movie either.
no. And I'm gonna be honest here. I like he's like way down on my list of favorite things in the movie. Was like his character. Every time he was on screen, he was really like, I see what they were doing with the character and why they did it, but it wasn't my favorite thing with the way like I feel like I know that you need to dramatize this for the movies and make this something entertaining, but also I know that no Formula One rookie is ever going to act like that. So that was really one of the bigger things that did take me out of this. And I wouldn't see him coming, back into a sequel and making it believable that he's suddenly like a big veteran now and that he would be enough to carry a movie on his name.
Yeah. Well, no, if you don't have Brad Pitt, you don't really have a movie. Like you can't
Also
carry it
that.
on
So
that.
so
So
do I see them wanting to do another movie that involves Formula One? Yes. But I also don't know how much Formula One and the teams would be interested in going through all of the, the song and dance of bringing the fake 11th team onto the grid when we're already introducing an 11th team next year. And, Mohammed Ben Salem wants a 12th team out of China or something. And, there are rumblings everywhere of another, more team additions. We also have a new regulation change. So I just don't know how they're going to make another Formula One movie or a Formula One movie sequel. Will I probably watch it if it ever comes out? Yes, but I do think that they need to make sure that they do it the right way. And I don't know what that way is yet.
The only storyline I could see is like a young female driver trying to get a seat. Like I could see them like
Let's go F1 Academy.
Yeah. But not F1 Academy. I think it has to be F1.
No,
maybe in combination.
F1 Academy graduates leading.
Yeah. Because I could see that.
I can also that would be one of the few ways, and I can't think of any of them now, any other ways right now because I am running a summer camp and I'm tired. But I definitely think that could be one of the best options for a sequel to this, which would be less of a direct sequel and more of a spiritual sequel, as it's set in the same no budget cap universe of Formula One, where we do get the first female Formula One driver. That would be pretty cool to see. And I think that they could execute that pretty well. And they can bring Susie Wolf in.
Exactly. But let us know what you thought about the movie. Let us know your thoughts on what a good sequel would be. Not saying I wouldn't, I didn't hate the movie. It just wasn't my favorite. But definitely want to hear your thoughts. Let us know. That has been our reaction to the F1 movie. Thanks for going off track with us, guys.